Hello and welcome back. Today's demo, I'm going back to my roots and painting a really loose watercolour seascape. It's depicting a scene at my local beach that I saw when I went for a walk there a few days ago. Recent storms have blown this massive tree or part of a tree onto the beach. It's about 20 foot long. It's been there for a while now, and I thought it would make a really interesting subject to paint. So the first thing I wanted to do was to try out a couple of thumbnail sketches, just very, very loosely in fine liner pen to test out some ideas for composition. The first one, I'm pretty much copying my photograph, putting in the two breakwaters and then positioning the tree on the beach. Keeping these as sort of like value studies as well, so that I get an idea of not just the composition but the tonal balance as well. I'm not too happy with that. I'm looking at that, it's very, very heavy on the right hand side, so I'm going to try another thumbnail sketch, this time bringing the tree a little bit further along, and I'm going to leave out one of the breakwaters. I'm hoping that will give me a slightly more balanced composition. I highly recommend doing a few of these thumbnail sketches before a painting to work out any potential problems with the composition. You'll find that it pays dividends because not only is it great practice, but it will save you a lot on watercolour paper because you'll end up with getting a really good design for your painting. Now, just before I start the painting, just a quick reminder to let you know that my book Landscapes in Watercolour is available to buy from all good bookstores. I'm leaving a couple of links in the description below. There are 10 step-by-step projects to follow, 5 pure watercolour and 5 line and wash. So if you're interested, please take a look in the description below. Okay, on with today's demo. If you're interested in taking a look at my pencil sketch, which you can see is very similar to the thumbnail, then please pause the video now, or you could take a screenshot and refer to it later if you like. I'm using Canson Moulin de Roy cold pressed watercolour paper. It's taped to my board and my board is at an angle of about 20 degrees tilt, so gravity will help me to paint. I'm going to use the wet in wet method, so I'm going to wet the sky and the sea with clean water using my 1.5 inch Princeton Aqua Elite modeler brush, but you can use any wash brush that you're happy with using. I'm trying to leave some dry areas in the sea area and then wetting the beach. Those dry areas will give me a mix of soft and hard edges and also white wave crests. So I'm going to paint in my storm clouds using Payne's Grey, sepia and indigo, using a variegated wash that's much darker in value at the top for these ominous clouds, getting paler down towards the horizon, and then dipping into Payne's Grey and working around the dry paper waves in the sea. I'll then bring some paint across the beach, and that'll be raw sienna, burnt sienna and raw umber, and a touch of sepia too. I've laid my board flat now and I'm using a piece of clean paper to cover over the sea and sky area to protect it. And I'm going to create texture by spattering some drops of paint in sepia and raw sienna onto the beach. The beach area is still damp, so you can see that the spatter marks are softening and diffusing, and that's giving me a nice texture. And now just before it dries, I've grabbed some really rich paint, sepia, Payne's grey, and I'm painting in the tree, just keeping the shape really simple. I can see my pencil outline and the breakwater, and just placing them in with confident but simple brush strokes. I can use a clean damp brush just to soften up the edge of the breakwater there, and now I'm going to scrape some texture through that rich paint with my palette knife. This is a great way for beginners to really try and loosen up and get used to using big brushes, bold, confident brushwork, and also start to think in terms of texture by scraping through paint or spattering paint into damp washes, and just see what happens. And you'll be surprised at how effective something like this can be, even though it's incredibly simple. It's a case of trying to suggest the elements in our painting rather than painting them overtly. Excuse me. This is a small sword liner and I'm using it just to put in a few of those branches on the tree, just sticking out, and that helps to make the tree look a bit more convincing. I now need to leave it to dry completely. Here's the dry painting. I've stood it back up to about 20 degrees tilt because that's my comfortable angle for painting. And I'm going to add a bit of turquoise to the water just to sort of get it to glow a bit more. So this is a 3/4 inch flat brush, and I'm going to start off by putting some of this turquoise, glazing it across the dry sea, keeping my horizon nice and flat. Then I'll feather that colour in through the sea elsewhere, keeping some white wave crests and sea foam. I can dip into a bit of water just to take some of the intensity out of that turquoise. It will lighten up, but I think I'm going to blend some of that out a bit more with my brush. Just pull a bit of that out and straighten up the horizon. All I want is just sort of a hint of this turquoise sort of warm greenish glow across the grey stormy water. And I'm bringing some of that blue glaze up over the shingle and the sand, and that helps to give me the look of wet sand and bring some sort of harmony to the painting. And now just finally lifting a little of that turquoise, just a little bit more of it, off from the horizon line with a clean damp brush. And then taking my size 2 quill brush, clean and damp, and softening some of those areas of or transitions between the wave crests and the water itself. Back to the flat brush, and I've dipped into my lovely rich dark mixture again, and I'm just putting in some final darks, making sure that I don't cover up all the texture that I put in earlier with the palette knife. Making sure that it's bedded into the shingle nicely at the base. And just adding a few little bits of wood branches protruding here and there. And shadow. I'm going to remove the tape now. Removing the tape helps me to see how the painting looks almost with fresh eyes. When I see it with a clean white border, you can see that it looks a lot more finished because I'm removing those marks where I've swept paint across the tape. And once I see it with a clean white border, I can sort of assess it and see if it needs anything else. And I think I'm just going to add a little bit of dark with the tips of my flat brush. Just a little bit of dark here and there at the edge, just underneath some of the white water where it's coming into the beach. I can feather it out and soften those marks off a little. Just that little bit of shadow, I think, works quite effectively. Yes, I'm much happier with that. Just that little bit of dark at the water's edge has really just finished this loose painting off. And I'm pleased with the way this painting has sort of captured the atmosphere of the beach from my visit a few days ago. I hope you enjoyed this beginner-friendly tutorial. If you find you struggle with something like this to start with, don't be put off. Give it a few tries, because it can take a few goes before you get the results that you want. If you enjoyed this video, then why not have a look through the back catalogue of work we have here. We've got hundreds of videos, most of them beginner friendly, with lots of tips and advice to get you started with your watercolour painting. Well, many thanks for watching. Please click on the thumbs up button, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, why not consider doing so? It's free to do, and it really does help with our reach here on YouTube. And thank you so much to everybody that supports the channel on Patreon. We really do appreciate you, and we couldn't run this free-to-view YouTube channel without you. I'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting. Bye.